Welcome to another mailbag. Got a small order here from Pie Shop. I saw the boards, or at least some of the boards that I purchased from them on one of my favorite YouTubers' channels. There's some motor driver boards, I think, if I'm remembering correctly. Yeah, let me get my packing list out of here. And so I decided to pick up this series of kind of robotic boards. They're from Kitronic, which is a UK company. And yeah, they have three different boards that they've put out, and they come in at slightly different prices depending on what is on the board. So let's start off with the simpler one. I think the one that's actually says Simply on it. So this one says, well, actually I think this is the lowest cost one, the motor driver board for the Pico. So these are all for Picos. Let's start with this one. Let's see if it opens up here. Yeah, I still have to cut them. They've been sealed. Okay, so they're a UK company. I don't think I bought anything from Kitronic before. Alright, so you can see we plug our Pico in right here. And it looks like this is where we would give it power. And it says 10.8 volts max. So probably need to give it at least 3 volts would be my guess. It's nice it shows us how to align, so the USB plug for our Pico should be right here. Yeah, it looks really nice, looks well made. And then on this side you can see here's where our motors go, 1 and 2. And then some of the GPIO pins are yeah, let me get it in the light here, are set up so that we could use them. So I remember that pin 26 is one of our ADC pins, and I think 27 is as well. And then it looks like we have 1 and 2. No, 0 and 1, I should say. 0 and 1. And yeah, so we have some pins that we can work with. We have our 3 volts out and the ground. So we can connect some other things up to it, but it's a pretty simple board, just for motor driving. And we could maybe add a couple more sensors here on GPI 0 and GPI 1, and we could also add something that might need the analog to digital converter as well, and we could power and ground whatever those are. So it seemed like a nice board, and it kept with the thing that Kevin McClear said in his YouTube videos was he really liked that it has the on-off button, because a lot of times robotics boards forget about that, and it's kind of important. Yeah, so a nice little board here. So that's the basic one, just a motor driver. Then there's 2 robotics boards that I picked up. And I think this one that's Simply is the cheaper of the 2. So let's take a look at that. And, you know, depending on what you need, you know, the cheaper one might be just plenty. So again, here's our Pico plugged in. This one's set up so that we can put a bunch of servos on it, so it'll drive some servos. Looks like 8 servos could be driven here. And we have, let's see if we can show the print. There we go. Got a lot of sun in the room today. But we have 4 motors that could go on here. So we could drive 4 wheels separately. Yeah, it looks like we got power coming in here. It says black and red. Also have the switch, which is nice. So this one would be like servos and motors. So that would be nice. And then this other one's kind of the more full-featured robotics board, it said. So let's take a look at that. And it's a little, each of them gets a little bit bigger as it needs more space to allow different options. This one will also do 4 motors here, and here's where our power comes in, and we have the servos, switch, and we have the our Pico here, and then you'll notice inside looks like we have access to some of the pins because we can get a little proto board inside here to use. Yeah, I went back to make sure I had covered all the features of the boards, and then I realized I had missed on the Simply robotics board that in fact inside there was also some connections into pins on our Pico that we could use. So yeah, I was thinking that might be missing, and I just didn't even take a look in there. And yeah, so that's just really, really nice how these are. I guess here you'll have to be a little more careful. You're not using the pins that are being used by some of these if you're using them. Whereas it looks like here they've carefully chosen the ones that you should use. But yeah, so it's so you can kind of see that's a side by side of the 2 robotics boards, the Simply and then the full featured one, and then just the motor driver board is here. So in all cases you get access to a few pins, and it's pretty compact. Yeah, so the costs of these, so just looking at what I spent on them, and this is in 2025, early 2025. I got the motor driver board for $13, and I got the Simply robotics board for $15, and the full robotics board for $19. So that's what it cost me to get them from the U.S. Pie Shop. So they've already been imported to the U.S. and then of course I paid shipping for that, local tax. So that's just an idea of the cost. Any of these are gonna allow us to do some fun robotics, and I just thought they were neat. I had never purchased anything that I can remember from Kitronic, so I thought I would get them, the family that they have here for the Pico, and give them a try. Well, with that, thank you for joining me in this mailbag, and as always, thank you for watching.